Hello, everybody. Welcome to Women of the Grape and Grain, hosted by Be Inclusive Hospitality. They're a non-profit organization who are working towards racial diversity in the hospitality industry and food and drink. And our reason for being here this evening is that it is Women's History Month, and we are celebrating women in the drinks industry. So I have brought women from the world of spirits, cocktails, women from beer, women from wine, and we are going to be talking about challenges, triumphs, and solutions within our areas. So I'm Audrey Anantwi, the host and moderator for this evening. I'm a Be Inclusive Hospitality Ambassador, but I'm also a sommelier and front of house. So without further ado, let us get going and let us introduce our delightful panel. And we're going to begin with the ladies who are on the beer side. Marverine Cole, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Thank you very much, Audrey, and thanks to Lorraine at Be Inclusive for asking me on this panel. And hello, everybody watching us. I'm Marverine Cole. I'm from Birmingham born and bred. You might hear the accent. I'm a journalist and broadcaster by trade, but I have a huge love of beer. So I'm an accredited beer sommelier. I write the beer column for BBC Good Food magazine. I've got a beer podcast. Basically, I just love beer.
Lovely. Next, could we have Alex Sewell?
Hi there, I'm Alex. I am from South East London, so I might have a little bit of like twang, you know. I am a writer of all things. Normally it's just mental health writing. I'm a bartender, craft beer bartender, working for McKellar Brewery. And I am the founder of a monthly beer club called the Black Malt Bottle Share Club, which is basically about inclusivity in all respects. So women, people from the LGBT community can get involved in that as well. Nice to meet you all.
Lovely to have you, Alex. And Jaega.
My name is Jaega Wise. I'm the head brewer of Wildcard Brewery based in Walthamstow in East London. I also get out and about a bit, so I'm also a broadcaster as well. And yeah, that's me.
Okay, so we're going to go over to the ladies of cocktails. Sandrae Lawrence, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Hello, good evening. My name is Sandrae Lawrence. I'm one half of the Cocktail Lovers. I've founded with my husband, Gary Sharpen. We have a magazine, print and digital, which we produce quarterly, but we also have a website and we do all kinds of things in and around the world of drinks. And we're about to launch our podcast, which we're really, really looking forward to.
Excellent, excellent. Monica Berg.
Hi, my name is Monica Berg, and I am a co-owner of Tire Elementary in Old Street, which is where I am right now. We are currently an off license, but usually we would be a bar or two also. Also a co-founder of POUR, which is a non-profit seeking to kind of create or share knowledge within the drinks industry. And I also work with a lot of different brands, including my own. So yeah, sorry, rambling.
No, absolutely fine, absolutely fine. So last but not least, we are going on to the women of the grape. So Luma, if you could introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm Luma. I am a Brazilian, but living in London for about 5 years now. And I write about wines, I work with wines, I work in a distributor. I've worked as a sommelier before, but now I'm more in the backstage. So I'm working with a distributor here in the UK. I also write for Wineria. It's Wineria Official on my Instagram, where I share a lot of information about wine. I'm also a wine judge. So I'm a judge in competitions for wine, and I love everything about wine. So there's me.
And Vidya.
Hi, everyone. Lovely to be here and to be with such accomplished women. I recently transitioned into the wine industry after a career in management consulting and banking. I now work as an independent wine consultant, curating wine lists for restaurants and sharing my passion for food and wine by hosting virtual tastings, by posting on social media on my handle. It's called Not Just Vegetarian. And I'm also writing about wine for Wines of Eastern Europe. This is a very new assignment I've taken. I'm very pleased to be here.
Lovely, thank you. And this is our illustrious panel for the evening. So our themes are going to be challenges, triumphs, and solutions. So the first question is going to be in regards to challenges. So I was reading an interesting article and thought it would be a good question to pose for all of you. So in the wine sphere, a prominent author said that being a woman has been a help rather than a hindrance in such a male-dominated industry. So do you feel that this has been true in your respective industries? So I'm going to start first with Sandrae.
For me personally, yes, it has really, really helped. I mean, actually, I founded this magazine with my husband, who happens to be white and he's male, and I'm everything that's opposite to that. And so I've found that actually I get called on more because of being a woman and also being a woman of color, because I tick two boxes. So in some ways, it's annoying because sometimes he might be better at certain things, but actually I see it as a positive because I'm able to promote myself and the magazine, and it works for both of us. So at least it means that people are calling on me as a woman because they want to hear a woman's voice. So personally, it has worked really very much in my favor.
That's lovely to hear. Monica, how have things been for you?
I think it's a double-edged sword almost. I think yes, sometimes, but also other times no. I think also my background is slightly different because I come from Oslo, from Norway originally, which is quite forward, at least in our industry, in the hospitality industry. I think it was always very much welcoming women, because very early on, at least from the places that I used to work, people always said the more balance you have, the more well suited your business will be. So it was always encouraged to have women both behind the bar, on the floor as managers, but also as a security in the door, which is weird for many people when I say that most of the places that I worked with, in later has had quite a large amount of women and always worked well because of it. So I don't know. For me, I was a bartender for 10 years, and only when I started to kind of be better at it, I became a woman bartender or female bartender. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that there was a difference. Because when people ask me, how does it feel to be a female bartender? I was like, I don't know, because it's the only thing I've ever been. But I guess it's great. But, you know, it's a hard profession, but it's hard for everyone, I think. So I don't know how to answer that question.
All right, so let us go over to the women more so involved in beer. Jaega, what have there been like challenges in regards to being a woman, or you'd say it's been beneficial, or? Oh,
I like the concept of the double-edged sword. I think that's quite accurate. So for me, on the brewing side, it's definitely been a hindrance in terms of the way you're treated, in terms of, because brewing is a very, very physical job. It's a very male-dominated job. I came from a background in engineering, so it was quite normal that there'd be not that many women around. I found like beer quite similar with booze. So when people have a bit to drink, things can take a bit of a nastier turn, and especially if you come up from behind the bar side as well. If you I spent a good year working in a pub, and it's not the easiest. It's not the easiest of things. But then on the positive side, like I think the fact that I have been a female head brewer has gotten me a certain amount of attention, has led to me like getting my BBC contract, for example. I don't think that would have happened otherwise. But it just depends. Like what I spend most of my day doing, like working in the brewery, I would say a massive hindrance. But
right, Marverine.
First of all, massive admiration for Jaega, because Jaega does the job. She makes what I like drinking, right? And I've never been under any illusion. My job as a journalist, as a broadcaster, I am a gob on a stick, right? But this is really it, right? You know, when I started writing back in 2010, so talking 11 years ago, I started writing about beer. I set up my own blog, and it was a video blog, so I'd dart around all sorts of different events, filming events and speaking to brewers, and just all sorts of beer stuff that I could do when I was working in London. So I was doing that at the same time as I think I was working at Sky News, so I was an anchor at Sky News, doing my like day job and doing events in the evening. And the one thing that I noticed was people were really paying attention, because when I look back now, I think the fact that I was a Black woman, people were like, "Oh, yeah, you know, you like beer, you really like beer. You're not actually blagging it. You've discovered beer and you absolutely love it." And I was writing what I was discovering about beer and what I was thinking about beer, and what I'd learned through talking to brewers and drinkers and stuff. So I think just because the landscape at the time I started was predominantly white male writers, you know, with the exception of, you know, the top female writers out there like Melissa Cole, do you know what I mean, Jane Payton. I was something new, and people listened, and they still really do. So I've always had a great reception from breweries, brewers, the industry about what I've been doing. And you know, within the first year of starting writing, I was the first ever woman to win a gold award at the British Guild of Beer Writers, for like a TV broadcast I'd done. So that for me was kind of like recognition amongst all of those top people who've been doing it for way longer than I have to say that I'm doing something right. So I think, you know, I'm lucky to be born a Black woman. So I think I'm just lucky to be doing what I'm doing, and be accepted. And I didn't come into it thinking, am I going to be accepted? I just went into it. I was like, yeah, I can write about beer. You know, not stealing anybody else's thunder. So for me, I think, you know, I've just been naturally lucky because of who I am.
Oh, that's
what have I said?
No, I think it's quite interesting that both of us, from a journalist point of view, it works in our favour. But Monica and Jaega, you're saying that because you're actually in the industry, it's harder. So that's quite interesting already, yeah. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, Alex, what are your feelings about this? Because you're more kind of front of house based as well. So you're right in it, very much involved.
Yeah. So I'm a mere bartender, but amen.
Not a mere bartender. It's hard.
Not a mere.
Hit the nail on the head. Seriously. Just a mere mortal. Yeah, I mean, this question was difficult for me to answer because yes, it is a double-edged sword. I see myself as Black before I see myself as a woman in this industry because of that kind of attention that Marverine was talking about. You're more kind of under the spotlight. And and I'm a very nervous person. I don't really like to be kind of in the spotlight at all. So when I was first starting out in beer, that in terms of women being behind the bar, it was few and far between in the craft beer industry specifically. And it was this massive thing. It was like, oh, you're a woman. Wow. And especially within the tight-knit community that craft beer is, there was this whole ethos about inclusivity in general, just including people. So it was like, for me, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to take this on, because you know what, I really just love beer, and I don't think the homogeneity of it is going to stop me from pursuing it as a career. I don't know really. I kind of look to America because there are so many more women doing their thing over there than over here, I think, because we are quite small. But yeah, that's kind of still a little bit of a mysterious question to me. So I need to think about it a little bit more, to be honest.
I know you had a lot to say. It was lovely. Thank you, Alex. So, women on the wine side, your take on this, Vidya?
I have been, as I said, very recently in the wine industry. And even in my previous careers, they've been, traditionally in consulting and banking, there are women, but there are fewer women than men. I've never found it a hindrance. And I think it actually helps me stand out, partly also because there aren't too many Indian women in wine. So I just feel like there is an opportunity. And lately, because of the Me Too movement, I think women are actually more supportive of other women. And many of the opportunities that I have received today have been because of other women. And simultaneously, because of the same reason, I think just globally, because of Me Too and so on, men and women are far more sensitized to the challenges women face and are therefore making a conscious, concerted effort to, if not make a level playing ground, at least be more professional in their interactions. And at the very least, give people a hearing, or to give them a chance to be heard, rather. So I think in my case, I haven't found being a woman to be a hindrance. If anything, I've had opportunities come my way because of other women. So I would say it's helpful. But again, my experience is very limited.
But it's been mostly facilitated by other women, which is always a positive thing to hear. So, Luma.
I'm ashamed because I'm going to be negative.
That's good.
All opinions are valid.
Because, well, I think it's getting better, definitely. Much better than I believed than 10 years ago, than 20 years ago. We are in a path to get better and better, but I don't think still there is a helpful place for women to be. There is a dominance of male, white, old, with a mentality, very misogynist, in the wine world, for me, in my opinion. I've seen it, I've felt it. So it doesn't, this is a motivation for me because, I have to be the next generation. It's me, us, women. And I think, especially if you tick the boxes, I think someone said about the boxes, if you're white, well, if you're black, not from here, Latina, not white, and the women are white, Latina, you have all the boxes ticked for you to have a specific place, in the industry. So it's difficult for you to place your foot and say, no, wait a minute, I have something to say that is important. So again, we are getting better. And I hope, it's going to get better and better. These conversations are so important. But I think in wine is still a little bit difficult,
Yeah, well, I'm like the ghost at most events, most wine events. It's just like I go in, everyone ignores me. I'm just like, goodbye.
Are you serious?
A lot of the time, yeah, it's actually quite. It's people often ask, oh, so what are the big differences where beer and wine are concerned? I'm like, well, you know, wherever you're going to set your foot in, you're going to be a minority as a Black woman. But I just found that beer was a lot more welcoming than wine is by quite a lot. So, but
That's
you know,
a shame. What should happen then? What should happen to change the wine industry? Because that sounds horrible. Because whenever I've walked through like brewers, they're like, "Hey,
it's interesting," because the question's always posed, and we're asking each other these questions: what can we do? What can we do from within? But the problems or some of the adversity that we face, it's not coming from us.
No,
we are not antagonizing each other or whatever and trying to put each other off areas and being sexist towards each other. No, it's others. But I think if someone is the aggressor, they don't necessarily see themselves that way. So it's just one of these things where I think, especially with kind of Be Inclusive Hospitality they do some workshops and the like, even just in terms of appropriate language and making people feel more welcome, because it's one of these things where it's like, oh yes, we strive for better gender parity, better kind of representation, but you set your foot in that door and everyone's just like, and you're just like, all right, I tried. to go in.
Because wine is it's a real fusty kind of industry.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Is that harder, I think, for you trying to break through rather than, I'll say, I don't know if Monica agrees, but cocktails tends to be a little bit younger, a bit fresher, much more inclusive in that kind of way. I can imagine that wine, whenever I've been to champagne events, say, I do feel that I'm very much that people are like, what are you doing here almost? You know, it's they just don't want to almost welcome you into that club. So, you know, I think wine probably is a little bit harder in that respect, definitely.
Should we all just go over to the other side? We should join in cocktails. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, we are doing wine. The prizes now.
Like, right, we're leaving.
But beer as well. Beer seems to be a lot better as well. I just think that wine seems to be, it's a different thing, that it's much more an old boys network almost, you know. So
it's the elitism around it, isn't it? There's an elitist feel around it, and people kind of talking like when they talk about it. You know, that's what I sense. I mean, I love wine. I love wine. I drink wine. I drink spirits. But I get that sense that there is a kind of you know, a privilege around it, and only certain people should be talking about it.
Yeah, I think Marverine, I think you're absolutely correct. I think a lot of it is a class thing as well. So like beer traditionally is like a working person's drink. Like it does tend to be more social, more I don't want to say friendly, but it's more sociable drink. Whereas in order to have a vineyard, comparatively have a brewery, the money difference is quite substantial.
Yeah.
I think it's also maybe a little bit what kind of circles. I mean, I feel like wine is a little bit more like you have the kind of cliques and circles where you have like natural wine, you have the younger, you have the older, you have the old world, new world kind of thing. Because certainly I see that, you know, outside of the hotels and kind of fine dining restaurants, I tend to find that wine, especially the new generation of wine people, they are quite like chilled and laid back and very almost kind of casual. So I definitely think that it's also about, you know, the circles that you are attracted to. When you see, for example, the kind of, you know, the shop cuvée, how they have kind of made wine into this huge thing during lockdown, where you have a lot of younger people that maybe before didn't feel comfortable going into wine shops and asking, they can now do it without being judged. So like someone said, it's about that judgment, because for me, I know wine well enough to know what I like, but I would never have a debate or discussion with someone with a wine background. I can say, this I like, this I don't like, and that's about it, you know. But I'm very happy to buy wine if someone can just help me and guide me, like with everything else, I think.
Right. So
There's some brilliant comments from panelists in the chat, like going, yes, yes, pale, male and grey. Like, great.
just referring to people as grey generally, it always gets me, because it's just like, it's nothing, it's like nothing. But either way, let us proceed onto the positives. We are going to be talking about triumphs now. So I can't wait to hear how you have triumphed, because I know that there are a lot of achievements amongst this group. So what have been some of the triumphs in your areas in terms of making spaces more friendly for women? And I know one person in particular has done a lot. So Jaega, we will start with you.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
Sorry.
Sorry. I'm a really big fan of getting things written down in a legislative, official manner that really helps to draw a line between what is acceptable and not acceptable. Because nothing says something is not acceptable than from the voice of an authoritative body, if that makes sense. So we worked really hard to change the bottle labelling and can labelling across all the drinks industry, which was to work with a group called the Portman Group. And if you don't know who they are, they're kind of like alcohol police. So it's their job to say, no, you can't put that on a can. Yes, you can put that on a bottle. And up until it's about a year and a half now, you could put sexualized branding, you could put racism, you could put homophobia onto beer packaging, cider packaging, wine packaging, and it literally was not in their rule book to do anything about it. So we managed to campaign enough in order to kind of trigger a consultation, lots and lots of lobbying, lots of working with trade bodies, and they recently changed it. So if you see any beer label, cider label, wine label across the UK that has anything dodgy on it, there's now an independent group you can complain to. They will look at it and they will make a decision, and they have the power to pull that item from the shelves. So it was like a really, really like massive, significant change that affected like the wine industry, the cider industry, the beer industry, spirits, everybody. So that's something that like super, super proud of. Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, we've been doing lots of stuff. Like we've been working with the Society of Independent Brewers to try and come up with a code of practice for the brewing industry. Say, if you want to join your trade body, you have to adhere to these certain standards as well. So yeah, we've been doing lots of work with camera, lots of work.
Mm-hmm. With camera, some of them dodgy beers with dodgy labels. Yeah.
Do you know what one of the most successful things was to lobby SIBA, who's a Society of Independent Brewers, and to lobby CAMRA and say that brewers who had dodgy labels or sexualized branding were not allowed to win the beer competition. And it's something that like it's really easy to agree to for them, because they're like, yeah, why would we have a naked person win this beer? But it really instantly put brewers off doing that kind of branding, because they want to win a prize. Yeah. It changes the way they think about their product when they're entering it into competition, and suddenly it becomes, rather than having this dirty in joke, I want my beer to win, I'm going to maybe put it in something that's a little less controversial, so to speak. So that quite quickly made quite a big change. But lots happening, lots more to go. It's certainly been a really good like 2 years or so in terms of making strong like legislative change as well.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
But is it that you have to not threaten people, but say you cannot win this, or you won't be allowed to receive this unless you do these things? Is it not that should it not be obvious that when you're going to a pub or just enjoying a beverage that you just don't want to see nudity on a package, It's
you'd think that, right?
Yeah.
Just like that. Yeah. But it's unfortunately it's not. And I think the angle that I always think is really interesting, and especially when you're talking to brewers who don't quite understand your point of view, is saying you want to sell more beer, right? And the answer is always yes. And why would you choose to purposefully alienate 50% of the population? Why would you purposefully choose to belittle them or to make them feel like they're not equal? That's not going to help you to sell them product. So if you want to sell more beer, get it out.
Yeah, you're right. And hit them where it hurts. They want to sell more beer, and they all love putting in for the regional awards and the national awards, and the ability not to be able to do that and to not to be able to progress is great, because for some of those breweries that do put that horrible stuff on their cans, they probably have absolutely no women working in the brewery and have never even thought about. Do you know what I mean? If they think it's okay to put these things on their bottles and cans, then they're probably not even thinking. I'm generalizing, but I imagine they're probably not even thinking about diversity in their own team.
Okay, so other women from your respective areas, any triumphs? Sandrae?
Personally, or in the whole industry?
Either or.
Well, I think it's good that people are starting to talk. I think it's great that we're having discussions like this. So this all helps to make things better for everybody, really. I think that also over the past year or so that we've had the Me Too, we've had Black Lives Matter, we've had all of these things that are making people think a lot more about women, our place in society, our place in the drinks industry, and also the qualities that we can bring to it. So it's taken time, yes, but at last we're starting to talk about it. So I think that those are baby steps, but we're getting there. And we're having conversations like this, which, wouldn't have happened a few years ago. So we personally, in the magazine a few years ago, I think it was about 2014, we did a thing on women in the drinks industry. Monica was one of the people that we actually included. And we wanted to have this exhibition of women in the drinks industry. We wanted to actually have a platform where we would go into schools and talk to people about the great opportunities that there are for women in the drinks industry. But because it was us doing it independently, we couldn't quite get it off the ground. But I'm really pleased to see that there's a lot more things that are happening. So that's good. We're getting there.
Vidya and Luma, any triumphs within wine, or things that you've seen being done, or personal triumphs?
I think I've seen something that I really like is the women coming together and creating supportive networking. So I will give you one example. There are loads, but there is one called Women in Wine London. So what they do is they do events for women, networking, talking to each other about the industry, the challenges as well, in what they are struggling. So I think these kind of things is I see as a positive, because it's yeah, that's it. So let's talk about it. Let's see what we can do to move forward. So this for me is something very, very good that is going on in wine. It's this, networking of women, supporting women. That is what I think is very good.
Okay, so
Sorry.
Oh yes, sorry, Vidya.
I'll add to that. I'm very much on the same line as what Luma mentioned, that there are a lot of women supporting women. In addition to the Women in Wine London, I also find that, at least personally, the way I've felt being included and welcome and supported was actually through a Twitter wine hour run by Sorcha Holloway. It's called UK Wine Hour. It's usually Thursdays at 7 p.m. And that is one of the most welcoming groups. Now, there are obviously men and women in that group, in that chat, but they meet quite regularly on Twitter. And it's a very welcoming place. I have never felt otherwise. So that is one thing that I've noticed in addition to Women in Wine London. And on a personal level, I find that people I connect with on social media are also supportive and very keen to see and hear a different voice. What I keep hearing from PR companies is that they want to find new voices and new influencers. I mean, this is my experience. I have under 1,000 followers, so it's not like I have a lot, but I find that people are supportive. And in fact, my very first opportunity to actually curate wine at a restaurant came from another Indian woman. She's Chef Asma Khan. She's very passionate about supporting women and especially supporting women in their second careers. And this for me is a new career after being in banking and consulting. I've never worked in a restaurant. I've never worked as a sommelier, but yet she took a leap of faith in me and placed her trust in me because I'd attended some of her supper clubs and I'd eaten her food. And being Indian also helped. But I don't think I would have gotten that if another common mutual friend hadn't connected us. So I just feel like there's this whole power of the network. And the more people we can connect with openly and in a genuine way, authentic way, people know what we stand for and people know what we're passionate about. And then the opportunity comes along. Now, this is very recent, right? It's 2 years ago that I quit my job and I wanted to do something in this. And the opportunity came along after a year. And it's because of lockdown that nothing has happened. But I really feel personally I've benefited from women supporting me in my career transition. And I hope to stay connected and pay it forward to people going forward in future.
That's really important, the being able to pay it forward, and having us all involved, I think, is actually it's significant in that we will be who the next generation look up to. So we need to continue supporting each other in whatever ways we can. So in terms of triumphs, Alex?
I just actually want to commend Jaega because of the most amazing things that she's managed to do. I didn't even know that there was that independent body that you could complain to about their branding. So that's absolutely amazing to hear. And I just wanted to also mention the Everyone Welcome manifesto as well that Melissa Cole and other people set up. I think, Jaega, you were part of that as well. It just aims to eradicate, discrimination based on protected characteristics in pubs. And I think it makes me feel safer knowing that is there, especially when I go to festivals. I think, Audrey, I feel kind of the same way as you do when you do walk into that room. It's kind of like you feel like a ghost. It's one of those things. So, that Everyone's Welcome and manifesto has really sort of upped that level for me. And I think that was a big achievement.
Okay, so also in keeping with the theme of triumphs, have any of your careers been nurtured by mentors, in an official capacity or an unofficial capacity? What would you say on that? So, Monica.
I would definitely say that I have been very lucky in my career. So I've always had good mentors and good teachers. Some of the relationships have been a little bit like head to head, which I think is, I think anything that is important is never just easy. So definitely sometimes, especially when you are younger, if people really want to look out for you and really want what is best for you, they will come to you and they will try to give you advice that are not necessarily the advice that you want to hear, but the advice that you need to hear in order for you to grow. And I've definitely benefited from having those people in my life, and learned a lot. So yes, I've had good mentors and still have good mentors in my life.
Right. Luma. Any mentors, official, unofficial?
Unofficial, they don't know yet, but I'm they don't know. But I have some people that really helped me. So, for example, I'm going to say Jean Gore, because when I met him, he was director of WSET. It's the school that now I'm doing my diploma now in wine. And he was always amazing to me, always. So, you know, every time I was like with a doubt, etc., he was there to help me, like, you know, WhatsApp very quick. What do I do with that, etc., etc. I had like friends in the industry as well. So I have a very good friend, Frank Ward. He's an old gentleman, but he's so nice. He was always like, I think in his eyes, he was like, I'm going to help her, you know, to understand more, like, better wines, etc. I'm really grateful for that, because I had access to wines that I would never have opportunity to try in my life. And also I worked with an incredible woman, Julie. She now is working in spirits in Sandrae. So it was briefly, but you know, sometimes you have like people that pass in your life and they help you and they don't even know as well. So I always been grateful for everyone that passed in my life, and I had these experiences, and when they take the time to help you, you know, is amazing. So I definitely, and helps a lot, to be honest.
Marverine, have you had mentors in your broadcasting and journalist career?
As a beer journalist, no.
Oh.
Not a mentor specifically, but I've, you know, just listening to what Vidya was saying about all the women who've helped her, I've experienced that as well. So been really, really welcomed by beer journalists and beer writers. And, you know, all the women of the time who are still writing, Sophie Atherton, Jane Payton, Melissa Cole, Annabelle Smith, you know, brewers, Jaega, you know, Sophie Durand. There are so many. And also, so, you know, so that was really important for me. Like, women would just go in, whoa, and wanting to have conversations. But as well, the male writers as well, you know, from Roger de Protz, you know, proper veteran beer writer, Pete Brown, you know, all these names were just really lovely to me. And that meant a lot, because I was kind of just going in there going, oh, I'm just going to write, oh, you know, I didn't have a strategy or a plan, and I didn't go, I'm going to move into beer. It was, for me, it was like an epiphany of, I used to think beer was just stellar and I'd put lemonade in it to taste better. But then when I went to do a piece of journalism about beer, I had to obviously drink and drink ales, and I was like, yeah, something went
the world opened up.
Yeah. That's what happened, and that's why I was so motivated. I was like, set up a blog. So it meant a lot for people to want to connect with me, and also in my like day job, my main profession is a journalist and a broadcaster. I mean, I'm an academic now, but I've come to that later. But as a journalist and a broadcaster, I never had a mentor. I've always mentored, like for 10 years, I've mentored aspiring journalists and people who want to change careers or want to be a presenter, want to be on TV, want to be on radio. I've trained lots of people. But then this year, I got accepted onto a mentoring scheme, and I wish I'd had a mentor sooner, because everything I'm learning from her is mind-blowing, actually. So yeah,
I think mentorship is one of these amazing things that it was not until like very recently that I realized that people had mentors. You know, you have these great stories of people who are triumphing, they're doing spectacular things, and you're like, wow. At no point did I think, oh, there's other people who are hoisting them up, you know. There's like loads of people like holding their legs up or whatever to make sure they can get to the top. But I think that realization is quite like eye-opening that people do have mentors, and they really are very much like key in people's success. So,
and I genuinely thought no one would ever want to mentor me. Like, why would they want to mentor me? Because I'm kind of, I've been around for a while. Like, and people, I just thought, everyone was a mentor, like way younger people than me, right? In their 20s, in their 30s. I am a lot higher than that. And I was just blown away when I got accepted on the scheme. So the experience can be transformational, you know.
I think you can always transform. I think that's a good message to take away from today. There's always room for transformation, but you need to find the right people sometimes. How do we find the right people? It's a great mystery. One day we will all know. But Jaega, any mentors that you've had in the area?
Well, I've had really good teachers. One of the person who's probably taught me the most about beer was a brewer called Sophie Durand. I know Marverine already mentioned her. So I really learned from her at the beginning of my career. I just listened to everything she said. She doesn't know quite to the extent to which I was just copying everything she was doing. So I was a secret mentee.
You know,
I was a secret mentee. So she's been absolutely just instrumental in terms of the start of my career. In terms of on the broadcasting side, there've been so I present the food program on Radio 4, and Sheila Dillon, she's like head honcho of the food program, so she's like a big deal, has been presenting it for a long time, and like I'm a hardcore rookie. So I came with very little broadcasting experience, and then suddenly you have this opportunity, and like she retweets everything I do. She's there, like kind of supporting me in my corner. She's saying, "Oh, Jaega, this was really, really good. You did this really well. Yeah, maybe this." You know what I mean? So it's she's been really, really great, but not in an official. I've never had an official mentor, and Marverine, I would love to know this mentoring program that you found people on, because I feel that especially in business, I feel that I could really use someone to talk to who is impartial, who doesn't have an agenda. I'm not saying people have an agenda, but people always have an agenda, whether they know it or not. So I would love to talk to somebody kind of removed from my situation to give me kind of independent advice. So if any of the mentors out there that want to mentor me,
hook you up with that scheme. I'll hook you up with the scheme. It's done. I'll DM you.
Sandrae, and what about yourself?
Again, like most people, I haven't had an official mentor. I think before getting into drinks, I used to work in fashion. So I used to work with this lady called Hilary Alexander at the Daily Telegraph, and she was an amazing, frightening mentor, because I learned so much about her, about working under pressure, about just getting things done. So bonkers, but brilliant at the same time. With drinks, I guess that the bartenders that I speak to, they're my mentors, because I know nothing about drinks. I've learned everything from them. And also one of the things that I love about the bartending community is that once they knew that I was passionate, me and my husband were passionate about what they were doing, they wanted to share everything with us. So anything that we know about drinks, or anything that we write about drinks, all comes from the bartenders. So they're our mentors for getting our magazine done. I don't know anything about drinks. As a journalist, you're relying on the people, the community that you're talking about, to share their knowledge with you. So we grow when they grow, as they grow, and they share all of their passions and knowledge with us. So I owe the cocktail lovers to the drinks industry, really, which is fantastic.
Right. So now we are getting to like the final theme, which is solutions. So how do we move forward towards better gender parity? And do you think entrepreneurship will support this? Because I know a few of you do more kind of freelance work or you self-publish. Do you think entrepreneurship is key in this, in producing more gender parity? Because there's always, just didn't employ more women, and just like it's not working. So right. So do you think entrepreneurship will support more gender parity, women working for themselves and setting up their own businesses? Right. Monica.
Yes and no. I think that, especially in an industry where you could argue that the gender balance is not there from the start, anytime you want to kind of level up a little bit or even the playing field a little bit, you have to work a little bit harder, you have to try a little bit more if you want to have that inclusion. And even I can see from my own business is like, I want to have a balanced team, but sometimes that team looks like this, sometimes it looks like that, because I also want to have the right personalities where everyone feels welcoming. And this is one of the things that I really also always enjoy about my bar, is that, like, if you want everyone to come to your bar, you have to employ everyone so that everyone finds someone who makes them feel, this is my space, So I think, yes, women need sometimes just someone to open the door and just say, here you go. And then we're pretty, good at taking the chance and just like go with it. So I think, yes, I think entrepreneurship and helping women to start their own businesses and giving them access to some of the information that has previously been kind of given only to a certain like men, will definitely make it change. Yeah.
Okay. Alex?
Yeah, I definitely think so. In terms of entrepreneurship, I've always said that tap rooms and grassroots events in beer specifically are the future of the industry. I think we need a lot more of that. Because I know with my events, it was successful in a respect of, it was about inclusivity, but I was finding that a lot of people were turning up who were getting a bit, I don't know, it was a bit more homogenous than I would have liked, to be honest. But I think, if more and more women started their own events, their own sort of appreciation events, then I'm all for that. I think that is the future, because then they can sort of curate their own environments.
Vidya?
And that's it.
You're muted. Sorry.
Yes, I've just realized. I think entrepreneurship, it seems to offer, and I think it's yes and no. One is, I think, by being our own independent, freelance wine consultant or advisor, we are free to charge what we charge. And we are free to take on opportunities that work for our schedule and work for under the constraints that we are, constraints or opportunities that, that we are willing to work towards. However, having worked in very large organizations, professional organizations, where gender parity is still yet to happen, I don't know if actually being an entrepreneur is a deterrent, because you don't know what the average industry is. There are no guidelines. There is no regulation. Just as Jaega was talking earlier about, you can't have certain types of ads. There is nothing to say that you need to provide opportunity to women or to pay them equally. So I feel like being an entrepreneur, one doesn't quite know what is acceptable and what is not. If I think I should charge whatever, say £100 for an event, as an example. I could try that, and it's up to me to kind of find the market that works for me. Whereas the average industry pay may be something very different. I have no clue as an individual. So I think achieving gender parity through entrepreneurship, I think is harder actually. That's my view. I don't know.
No, you did raise some important points there, actually, things that I had not considered about going into business yourself. So does anyone else have any opinions in regards to gender parity and entrepreneurship? Because we're going to go on to a Q&A section in a few minutes.
I would add that entrepreneurship is not a solve-all. Some of the worst managers I've ever met have been entrepreneurs.
Really?
Often they lack managerial experience, and there are some dodgy HR experiences that you would not get at bigger companies. So I think this issue is wider than the drinks industry. I think this is an issue for government. I think it's an issue that needs to be addressed at a higher level. And the reality is we are not in a level playing field. In order for us to achieve equality, does that not mean that we need to kind of skew the scales a bit? Because this isn't working. This isn't working.
And I think that I truly believe that education as well is a way. Recently, I will tell you why. Recently, I saw a scholarship. Efren was telling on the group. It's called Golden Vine Diversity Scholarship. They found they are going to give one scholarship, one for someone to be master of wine, one for someone to be master sommelier. So like the top ends of the wine industry. And so they are going to give like 50,000 in funds for people of color, indigenous people, women, etc., of color, etc. So it's like so they are going to give 50,000 in funds, plus internship, which is very important, plus mentorship, which is another thing that's very important, plus travel bursary, etc. When I saw that, was the first time I'm like, yeah, there is one way to go. Because, for example, I am doing WSET now. WSET helped me a lot for the contacts, etc. But I am the darkest person in the room,
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, really?
Yeah,
and that is a shame. That is a shame because how do you know more about wine? How I learned about wine through education was the only way. So when I saw what they were doing with, actually the name of the charitable is Gerard Bassett Wine Education. When I saw that, I felt for the first time in the wine industry represented. I was like, yes, because the next year, when I finish my studies, I can apply, I can do the scholarship. So I think education is another way, but needed to be supported because not everyone that can pay the courses.
Oh, like when you look at the MW fees, oh my gosh, you're like, what? It's like,
what kind of fees are we talking here?
It's really, I think it's, if you kind of calculate all of the exams, because the program is 3 years long, and at the end of it, you do a longer research project, and then there's travel expenses because there's these trips and other things. It's like £20,000 easily, like 30,000, and that's just like these are. And then if you don't pass your exams as well, you have to like pay again. So it's just it eats money. It's like.
And I did, Audrey, some research. There are just 472 Master of Wines in the world, yeah? And it's something that I really want to do. But I went to the website, I looked one by one, I swear to God.
Background. Everyone went to Oxford or Cambridge and yeah, especially the ones in the UK.
How many over there? How many? None.
Yeah, I remember saying to someone, did you know there's no Black Masters of Wine? No one noticed that there were none. And I was
No,
just
they
like,
didn't notice.
no one noticed. And I was just like, I said to someone, yeah, I aspire to be a master of wine. I said, but there are no black masters of wine. They're like, really? I was like, me telling you now in like, it was 2020.
No one non-white. No
like,
one
I was just
non-white.
like,
Exactly.
you're telling in the big 2021, you only realize there were no black people now.
I remember I saw one picture. It was 1 year when they did a picture. They do a picture with, the graduates, because a very, very tough program. Yeah. I saw the picture, was offended me, because nowadays, if I see something very white, I'm like, what is going on here? It offends you. I was like, looking at the picture, I was like, no, there is no even, because, not even like, like a darkest color of the skin.
Yeah.
No. It's just white. And then I saw,
but it's not funny, is it? It's terrible.
Yes. When I saw the scholarship, I raised my hands like, guys, please. I'm not applying this year, because you need to have diploma first.
Yeah. This is my goal, to complete my diploma this year. Like,
another colors in the Pantone.
So there is just one Indian woman who's a master of wine. She's literally the only Indian who's a master of wine, and she's obviously a woman who's a master of wine. So that is, and she's based out of India. So she is literally probably the only person adding color, Luma, to that group.
Yes, Sona is her name, isn't it?
Holland, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, right.
Awesome.
On our chat here, yes, and Shane is saying that it's Sonal Holland, MW. And, on our chat here, Fran Bridgewater, who has sent a lot of links for liquid, about liquid wines, about, she's saying, Luma, we can help lots with the scholarship. And, there are other links that she's posting for Women in Wine Expo and for Wonder Women in Wine, which is mentoring for women in the drinks industry and so on. So
there's some good stuff in the chat.
Yeah, so keep an eye on the chat, everybody.
Yeah, well, we have links to it after.
Right. So, ladies, in our Q&A box, we have some questions. So I'm going to start with something that's nice and it's quite fun. So we have, what type of wine do you ladies love? Are you red, white, rosé, and or sparkling wine type of drinker? Yeah, but also if you like beer, what are the beers that you that you recommend? Right, Alex, favorite beer, favorite wine, because I know you're on the darker end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I do like my stouts, but if we're talking about wine, I do like a really deep red, and that's all I know. That's all I know about wine. It's funny because I'm actually going to be on a wine label, Renegade's Urban Winery label.
Nice.
And it's I think it's it's a Riesling from London. I've never even tried anything like that before. I've had Rieslings, but that sounds really exciting as well. But in terms of beer, the darkest you can get, so the most imperial, bitter, chocolate, coffee, that kind of thing. I love it.
Sandra, what's your favorite wine, beer?
Well, again, I'm not that great on wines. I do love sparkling wines. I love a Cremant. I love a really good champagne. I love champagne. Monica and I have had many champagnes together. But and red wines. I love a red wine. But cocktail-wise, I'm very much a martini lady. That's my jam. And a Negroni. But I love trying all different types of spirits, and I'd love to speak to the beer ladies at some point to find a beer for me, because I'm really not good on beers. So Jaega, I'd love to come and talk to you, learn all about your beers.
I always say that it's something you hear quite a lot. You hear a lot from women, actually, when they say, I'm not into beer, and I always say, well, you've not found a beer
Exactly.
yet.
I'm not saying that I'm not
Right.
into beers. I don't know my beers. So
Okay.
I'm totally would love to discover something. I used to be very much a lager girl, but I don't know anything really about them. So that's my new area.
Sandrae,
Yes.
you're the perfect person to come into my bar. Seriously,
Good,
I
let's
love
do it.
when people don't know their beers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, you are more than welcome to come and drop by some. Yeah, I love it.
Definitely.
We'll help you. We'll help you, darling. No worries. Get you sorted out.
Marverine, your favourite.
This actually sounds like the beginning of a session. This is what this sounds
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we all have to bring something and present it.
Show and tell.
then
Monica, your place looks good.
Monica's place is
yours.
We have quite a nice selection of beer as well.
So Monica, what are your favourites?
And well, beer was actually my first kind of love when it comes to drinking. I used to work in a brewery in Oslo for almost 10 years until I discovered that beer actually makes me quite ill when I drink it. So I was like, it was the saddest thing ever, I think, because I had to stop drinking it because of my health. But my absolute favorite beer when I was drinking beer was sour style beers, and also like this kind of Duchesse de Bourgogne. The first time I drank Duchesse de Bourgogne, I drank it every single day for a week because I couldn't get over how delicious it is. And,
that is wicked.
but now I think champagne is definitely my juice, and martinis, yes.
Luma, your favourite?
I would say I love champagne as well. I was seeing someone in the group of Shane who was saying that he's drinking Boulanger. It's one of my favorite champagnes. But yeah, I love a Boulanger. Oh my God. But if I would choose one style, I love like red, bold, full-bodied wines. I always go for like, I love Australian reds. I love Bordeaux. I love this style. Really, really appeal to me. But if I can say one beer that I truly love, I recently discovered. I love all beers. Yeah, is stout less, just because I don't understand a lot of stout. But I love pale ale, Indian pale ale, beautiful, beautiful beers. But recently I had unfiltered lager. Oh, it's my new thing now. 5 days is my new thing.
Awesome.
Vidya? What's your drink?
I like a very a light wine, typical light red wine. Usually I like a Pinot Noir, either from Oregon or from New Zealand. I find that it's pretty versatile because you can have it with a lot of food, and I don't eat too much meat. I do eat some. So I find that that's the wine I tend to like, but it's very hard to pick one. And if I had to choose a beer, and I don't drink much beer, if I had to pick a beer, just because I keep hearing so much about beer in this chat that I feel like I should share. So please don't judge. I do like a Belgian wheat beer.
Sorry, Vidya, me and my big gob. What did you say on your favorite beer?
I do like a Belgian wheat beer. To me, I think that's that's like perfectly balanced, fragrant. It suits. I like it. That's it.
Marverine?
Yeah, beautiful. Sorry, Vidya. Me going.
It's fine.
It's a good chat.
On the beer front, I'm with Alex. I am. My Friday nights are called #Dark Fridays. Excuse me. I like Imperial Russian stouts. So there, you're kind of 2 or 3 steps up from a stout that might be 5%. So really good Imperial Russian stouts are kind of, black, rich, smooth, almost liqueur-like, really kind of chewy in the mouth, chocolatey, sometimes with a coffee notes, and just they fill your mouth with every mouthful. They're really satisfying. There's a sweetness to it because I've got a real sweet tooth. So like Durham Temptation Imperial Russian Stout is an excellent one for me. I just had an Exhale one called Deep Dark, which was, oh God, I think it was salt. No, it was oyster seaweed Imperial Russian Stout. So you get this saltiness and you get this kind of umami kind of taste in your mouth and this rich chocolatey. Oh, so I love an Imperial Russian Stout. And loads of other beers. I mean, I love all beer styles. Wine, I'm a lover of New World Reds. I love a good, rich Merlot, not too spicy, but sweet and silky. But I'm not much of a connoisseur. And champagne, yeah, I love my champagne. I'm a little bit partial to like Tattinger, Laurent Perrier Demi-Sec, and the occasional Cristal of special occasions.
Ooh. Jaeger, your drink of choice.
If only the bank balance would spread that far.
Yeah.
Once every 5 years, mate. Listen,
not in the beer industry. Okay, so I find it really difficult to pick when people say what's your favorite beer. Like, I feel like it's like choosing between your babies. So for me, like, I find it quite difficult. I'm going to pick the beer I'm drinking right now, which is my new beer that's just come out today, which is a 4.6% pale ale made with Idaho 7 and Azaka, which is really cool. On the beer front, so me, I'm a drinker of all. Wine-wise, right? And I'm interested to hear what the wine experts on the panel have to say, whether you could recommend me. I had a wine in the south of France about a year and a half ago. Well, it must have been over that, maybe 2 years ago. Nîmes in the south of France. It was a rosé. It was like a very dark pink. And it was the best thing I have ever drunk in my life. And I've been like chasing this wine. I've no idea what it was. Like, if you could help me find what this wine was. I know that the region is very famous for its rosés apparently. So yeah, I don't know if you could recommend me anything that would tick those boxes.
On our chat, Shane has identified it. It sounds like Tavel.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it Tavel?
Or Costière de Nîmes rosé. Someone else said in the chat, maybe. Ooh.
Yeah.
How marvelous, you found it.
I'm going to 100% hint that down. Thank you.
Okay. Right, I'm going to see like what other questions, because there are quite a few. It's a shame I didn't manage to get to all of them. But Jenny Haywood has asked, what is one piece of advice someone has given you that keeps you motivated?
Everyone looks really try to find a piece of advice.
I suppose yeah, well, whenever I've doubted myself in whatever I've been doing, I gotta say I'm really lucky. My husband is just like, don't doubt yourself, keep on keeping on, remember you're doing a good thing, kind of, do you know what I mean? And I know that comes from a place of honesty and not just she's my wife and I'm saying nice things to shut her up. Do you know what I mean? And like, cook that dinner. I know. I know. I suppose that's kind of it, really. Just motivating me when I felt unsure about anything I was doing.
I heard something that is about personality, but I did an interview. It was very interesting. And then at the end of the interview, I was not selected for the job. Unfortunately, still now my heart is broken. But he told me something after the interview. He's a master of wine, actually. He said, Luma, keep being enthusiastic about wine. Your energy is so impressive. The way you talk is so impressive that it's not now, but I'm sure you're going to get something soon. It's interesting because I never forgot it, because here sometimes, I'm Brazilian, very talkative, I talk with my hands, like I'm very, expressive. And sometimes I feel in the wine world, especially here in the UK, that you have to tune down a little bit. So you have to be more, polite. You have to be
very mild and quiet and
quiet.
The nuances of that. Just like, can I just say that I think it's delicious? Tell you why. and I can be as expressive as I like, but no, don't do it.
Someone, he's, a man, he's a master of wine, and he looked at me and like, Luma, keep doing that. It's like, oh, yes. Well, the first time I was like, it's interesting because I felt like approved. It's weird, isn't it? It's like I felt approved, but at the same time I was like, yes, this is what I am, that's it. Yeah, no, I never forgot it.
Good. And never stop being you, exactly. But I know what you mean about like feeling like approved, because it feels like in the world where it is dominated by guys, there's something around them, someone going, yes, very good. And you feel kind of and you almost feel like, okay, so yeah, now I can keep going. I love your energy, Luma. Love it.
So Sandrae, yeah.
I would also add to this, like, one of the things I learned was like, don't get too much in your head about stuff. So it's in like, if there's a choice of like you like posting something on social media, it's not perfect, or not doing it, just do it. And you can always delete it later. Yeah, you know what I mean? Always do it over not doing it, if that makes sense. Because if you put your like right foot forward and you fail, at least you stepped forward, if that makes sense. So it's always try and move forward, always post that post, always just always try and move forward is what I would say.
Sandrae?
Follow your passion, basically. It's all about passion. I think once it becomes about work, of course it's work as well, but I think as long as passion is there and we have that passion behind us, you know that you're doing the right thing. So it's trusting in your passion. That's one of the things that I always abide by.
Monica?
Yes, I toss up between, because I have two. One is kind of something that my dad always used to say to me when I was small, and it was like, it's only loosely translated, so it's only failure if you stop trying. I think that's kind of the essence of it. But also I think next to that, always make an effort, never just show up and just do it half-heartedly. Just like, if you want to do it, just do it, but then go for it. Otherwise, just let someone else do it, kind of, if that makes sense.
Alex?
Something I always say to myself is, if you can bring or share joy with just one person, then you've done your job well.
Oh, that's lovely. Vidya?
I'd echo what I've heard before here from Sandrae and from Jaega. I think if you love what you do, you find joy in doing things that you do, then it'll help you be consistent in your effort. You will be enthusiastic to put your next foot forward because you enjoy it. You're having fun. The moment something stops being fun, it's not worth doing. I mean, I'm not saying it's not that life is not full of up and downs, but the one piece of advice is find things to do that give you joy, that give you pleasure, that will help you move forward, and then you'll keep moving forward. You will keep putting one foot in front of the next.
Oh, lovely. I think it's always good to end things on a positive note.
Indeed.
So I'm just looking to see if there's any other questions that we can answer quickly, if everyone has a few minutes. Is that okay, everyone?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay. Missy.
Who is Fran, by the way? She's sent through so many things.
Oh, yeah, in the chat.
So Fran Bridgewater is the PR and marketing head for the Jared Bassett Foundation, which is, she just put it on the chat as well.
Lovely to meet you, Fran.
Yeah, there's lots of good stuff coming from Fran. I've spotted a question at the bottom. from Shane asking Jaega and me about stout.
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah,
Right.
Stout's very popular within the diaspora, but production is dominated by really large brands. How can we claim this style? I mean, in the UK, there are loads of microbreweries, smaller breweries making outstanding stouts. You know, I think a lot of people kind of think about a stout, you know, Guinness versus Guinness, or if you're Irish, is it McCaffrey's or something? Caffrey's. But it feels to me, I mean, Jaega, tell me if I'm wrong, it feels to me like every brewery, you know, in their core beer does a stout. And then if they really go in, yeah, we're going to experiment, they might do an Imperial Russian stout or a kind of a twist, you know, a next one up. Yeah, that's my experience. There's a ton of good stouts out there.
I don't think the dominance of brewers is specific to a stout. I think there is a real dominance of brewers generally. So in terms of the percentage of beer in the UK that is sold, that is what you call craft beer, is still less than 10%. So I think you're probably seeing that kind of dominance. So for example, in my one of the beers I released a few weeks ago, like I released a stout. Like they are out there from like small brewers. I think you might have to just work to find them sometimes, but they are out there. They are out there.
Actually, I just realized I have one last question to finish off. Right. So what are you looking forward to doing this year that you were unable to do last year? Because the world is opening up again and we will all be released.
I'm really
that's my number one haircut.
I'm looking forward to hugging people again, as well as going to bars, but I can't wait to hug people. I'm a real hugger and I've missed that. Being able to just go up to somebody and embrace them, and you know, that to me, I really hope that people don't lose that, because it's really difficult now that we have all become very sterile in a way, and whether we just automatically go back to hugging, I don't know, but I, for one, will embrace the hug.
Luma?
I will say something very controversial. Yeah? I'm thinking to go to a pub and have a pint of beer. A pint. Whiny people, I swear to God, I drink wine every day. I swear to God, I'm drinking wine now. Okay. Just like I miss the pub atmosphere. I love it. I love to go to a pub and like, oh, can I have a pint of or whatever? Well, I'm drinking beer still a little bit, you know, but it's not the same, you know, it's not the same. I want a pint of beer, pint, like huge and yeah. And okay, of course, after travel, blah, blah, blah. But before, a pint of beer.
Alex, what are you looking forward to doing?
I've actually enjoyed lockdown despite the despair and horror of it. I've really, really just enjoyed being an introvert at home. So I don't know if I'd change anything other than wanting to go out and see art again and performances. I really, really, really miss that. Absolutely. Just like the theatre, just performances, really, live shows, things like that.
Monica, what are you missing?
I never thought that I would say it after I was basically living on the road for 3 years for work, but I miss traveling.
Travel. I know, it's been ages.
In 2018, I think, was my last year of traveling, and I think I was on the road for almost like 330 days of the year, and it was just, yes. So I miss traveling. I miss being like surprised, genuinely like, whoa, going to a restaurant, reading the menu, thinking, oh, it's going to be like this, and then getting it and like, oh, wow, I would have never thought about this, because now every single day when I cook dinner, I'm always like,
yeah, you know what you're having.
like, oh, Surprise, surprise. Yeah, no, travels. Oh, travels.
Marverine?
It's really interesting, actually, what Alex said. I really resonate with, because I hated lockdown at the start, and I've actually really enjoyed being in my house. It's a bit weird. And so I feel like I'm quite reclusive as a result of lockdown. So I'm not going to rush out there and go wild. But yeah, I definitely want to take a wander up to the micro pub. There's a micro pub in my area that opened about a year and about 12 to 15 months before lockdown. And it's just two guys who used to work at breweries who set up in, just one little unit, chairs and tables, great beer and wine and spirit selection. So friendly, and it was always packed, and there was such an atmosphere. So I just want to get back to hop and scotch and to see the guys and just to be with all the regulars and just to be in there, and travel more, because I feel like not being allowed to travel more means like not being able to travel at all has made me go, boy, I gotta go to some places.
Yeah.
And when we can, internationally go to places I've never been before. And it'd be nice to try and do that this year, because I've a very big birthday to celebrate this year, and I'd like to do that. I'd like to
elsewhere,
be abroad for that. Yeah. I don't know where, but just get on a plane. Sunshine, beach, vitamin D. Just give me all of that. Yeah.
Vidya, what are you looking forward to doing?
Pretty similar to what others have said. I actually want to meet my friends and family in real life, face to face. Some of them are here in the UK, and many are actually in India or in America. So I'm really looking forward to meeting them. I don't know if I can, just given how every country approaches travel, but I would really like to meet my friends and family here and abroad. And I also want to visit some wineries and vineyards. That's something I'm really missing. That's it.
Last but not least,
I'm tired of my own cooking.
Yeah, no, I've been cooking quite a lot, and do you know what? It's not the one, I have to eat, we all have to eat, but sometimes I'm just like, oh, why? Why me?
Audrey, what are you going to do? What are you looking forward to?
Do you know, I've enjoyed being indoors and reading like 4 books at the same time. I'm really bad when it comes to books. I'll like pick up one, pick up another. When one is finished, pick up another. So I've enjoyed juggling loads of books from home. But this is going to sound quite ridiculous, but I'm really looking forward to going to the barber. I cannot wait to just go and get my hair cut. The gentleman who normally cuts my hair, he has music on. He's singing along to music as he's cutting my hair, and all of the regulars are coming in, and I'm just like, do you know what? I can't wait just to be like in a barber shop and enjoy that atmosphere again. I really cannot wait. And just going to have a drink somewhere, or just, having like food arrive, like you order your food and it arrives and you haven't had to do anything, like nothing. Like all you have to do is pick up your knife and fork. You don't have to look at the mess that you've created as well, that you're going to have to tidy. No more of that. I'm just, I'll be glad to go out. But Jaega, what are you looking forward to?
Exactly the same, a haircut. That's what I want. Anything in the world. I want some hairdresser time. Like, I want to get my eyebrows done. Like, I've been growing some caterpillars over here all year. Like, just the basics. Like the basics. The basics is all I'm after.
Or even just pottering around aimlessly. I know before I was like, oh, I hate going into shops, but now I can't like go into a clothes shop or touch like garments on a rail. I'm like, do you know what? I just didn't appreciate it when it was there.
Yeah, like it's one of the things I'm really looking forward to going to Superdrug, for like for no reason. Which
you
mascara
can go
shall I
to
buy? Just like
Superdrug,
pottering
no?
around pointlessly.
So funny. Yeah. Just pottering and shelf browsing through the
Less
rail.
queues as well.
Yeah.
Just, no, I think, will we all kind of have this new lease of life? You think so? Will we all? Or we'll just be like, once we can all return, we'll be like, oh, I hate being in crowded places and so forth. But, I think I'll appreciate it for a bit before I start whinging about it.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, it has been delightful. Thank you for tuning in. It has been excellent talking to you all, and I think only great things can happen when women, just people of different industries, get together, because there's some things that you just don't realize, or like steps that are happening in different areas that we could all help each other out at some point. So it was lovely to make the connection. Everyone, thank you for tuning in.